Jose Chilly DeCastro's attorney, that Randall S., the unhinged attorney, Newman, Esquire, says that Irish Demon has until Monday to respond to his lawsuit or will face default. Will the Irish YouTuber ever acknowledge the lawsuit? Jeremiah Payne says that he reported KFARR to the ATF over a ghost gun. Did the ghost gun actually exist? Regan Benson simulates reverse cowgirl as part of her insults aimed at a judge. Says Englewood police officer approached her inappropriately. Soothed feelings by drawing more anti-police chalk art? Okay then. Audit Them, the auditor who encourages you to audit them, says that everyone is in on the conspiracy to rob him of his family home. Is he on something, or is he just part of the conspiracy? Denver Metro Audits trolls the trolls by saying that all of his negative actions are their fault. He only reacts to negativity, and they started it, not Mom. Plus, did Liberty trolls steal Long Island Audit's thunder by hot-shotting reporting on a corrupt Florida mayor? Is there honor among auditors? The drama. I'm your humble newsreader, Pants. You're expressing the traits of a grumpy old cat who is about to jump on a keyboard in a defiant act of elderly attitude. Will you look into my spectacular eyes and get lost in the endless pleasure as we give ourselves to the radical positions of auditing insanity? Thursday was rife with First Amendment auditors invoking the name of Charlie Kirk to further their own goals, starting with Jeremiah Payne's dramatic release of an afternoon video in which he claimed YouTuber KFARR was indoctrinating his fans to do harm to Payne and his family. Payne proclaimed that it would be his last ever mention of the name KFARR on his channel, and continued the narrative he set the day before in both a community post and a 3-hour live stream. According to Payne, he was told directly by YouTube that KFARR's channel and the channel belonging to Judge and Executioner would be culled in a crackdown on hate speech due to changes coming to the YouTube platform. He insisted that hate speech also had no place on the platform and repeated a newer claim that entire channels would be banned by including his whole name and his channel name together in the same video, promising his fans and detractors that they could look up this policy as it was somewhere located in the rules of YouTube. Payne also insisted, while providing no evidence, that he had screenshots of messages from a Discord user by the name of KFARR Reacts, who allegedly put out a $500 bounty for his address. Bounties for personal information have been a new addition to Discord and YouTube-based First Amendment auditing-related communities over the past year. most notably offered by Kevin the Angry Vet Soper on his live streams. A bounty supposedly originated by YouTuber Lane Myers targeted Christopher Direct D. Ruff early in 2025, with Myers distributing Ruff's address on his live streams after receiving the information. While there is no direct evidence that KFARR or anyone else set up a bounty for Payne's information, Payne again invoked the name of Charlie Kirk as a reminder and a warning to those who would do harm to him. He claimed to be armed at all times, wearing a handgun strapped to his ankle, and implied that he would use Tennessee's Stand Your Ground laws to their deadliest extremes should he be challenged. Strangely, he also said that he had direct proof that KFARR was selling a so-called ghost gun which was untraceable, and that he had directly reported KFARR to the ATF, adding it to the list of acronym agencies that KFARR will supposedly be receiving visits from. Payne has promised to live stream 3 times a week, starting in the near future. Ongoing updates to court battles dominated Jose "Chille" DeCastro's Thursday, as updates came to his recently dismissed lawsuit against Michael Blue Bacon Peratini and his separate ongoing lawsuit against John Irish Demon O'Day, with O'Day offering continued radio silence to that lawsuit. Starting with the Peratini lawsuit, nearly 2 weeks ago, DeCastro's nearly 3-year-old court battle with Peratini, Team Skeptic, and Daniel Clement came to an end as Judge H.J. Ford III tossed the charges against Skeptic and Clement without prejudice at the request of DeCastro. At the same time, he tossed the lawsuit against Peratini with prejudice and awarded Peratini a little over $15,000 in sanctions. Meaning not only is DeCastro restricted from filing the same lawsuit against Peratini again, he is also being forced to pay a significant sum to Peratini with interest. The recently released final document in Peratini's portion of the lawsuit essentially was a procedural document showing that Peratini's attorney sent DeCastro a copy of the judgment via email. It is unclear what the final status is in regard to defendant Kate Peter, who DeCastro sought and received a default from the court clerk on, as there are no future hearings scheduled in the lawsuit, and there were significant questions as to whether she was properly served. Future hearings would have to be held with Judge Ford to turn the default into a default judgment by the court. At this time, no such hearings have been held, and with no further hearings scheduled, the case will remain dormant. Which brings us to the ongoing case of DeCastro versus O'Day, where DeCastro is suing YouTuber O'Day for damages over an alleged November 2024 hack of his main YouTube channel that resulted in a temporary channel loss for the diminutive YouTuber. That Randall S., the unhinged attorney Newman, Esquire, is representing DeCastro and was given permission to serve O'Day by email earlier in the month. O'Day had 3 weeks to reply to the service and has yet to reply as of press time. Attorney Newman commented on the situation to ReallyCoolNews on Thursday. Yesterday marked the deadline for Mr. O'Day to respond to the complaint in DeCastro v. O'Day. No answer was filed, no appearance was made, and no communication was received from the defense. In anticipation of this, I sent a follow-up email to Mr. O'Day, making it clear that unless he or his counsel responds by Monday, I will seek an entry of default. That notice was not limited to Mr. O'Day alone. I copied his alleged partner as well as that partner's attorney, so that all involved parties are aware of the consequences of continued silence. At this point, the record speaks for itself. The court authorized alternative service. Service was properly effected, and the defendant has ignored his obligation to respond. The window for voluntary participation in this case is rapidly closing, and if no answer is filed by the deadline I set, I will move forward with default proceedings without hesitation. While O'Day's response may still arrive by postal mail, as he does not have e-access privileges at this time, there is a growing likelihood that the YouTuber has decided to either ignore the case or purposely default in order to avoid having to defend against the charges against him. A default may indeed be the wisest move for O'Day, as DeCastro's team has screenshots of his confession, which he made to friends on Discord after the hacking. Also of note is independent evidence that a scorned associate of DeCastro was soliciting the information used by O'Day in the hack, and that O'Day was the only one to take the person up on his offer. DeCastro himself returned to live streaming in a widescreen format on Thursday, billing his live stream as a look into ICE incompetence. In the nearly 3-hour live stream, DeCastro announced that he was having his editors re-edit his horizontally formatted teaching streams in order to be released in the vertical format to gain a wider audience on the platform. His horizontally formatted livestream did 2,410 total views, peaked at 135 concurrent viewers, brought in $139 in Super Chat donations, received 287 likes, and had 54 comments as of press time. A second live stream was announced by DeCastro, but did not take place Thursday night. The momentum from his live stream was not enough to spark interest in DeCastro's 3 ongoing GoFundMe campaigns, as Sean Paul Long Island Audit Reyes took the day with a $10 donation to his Help Me Fight These Unlawful Charges and Injustice campaign. No other campaigns that we follow earned donations for Friday. The Englewood Police Department saw a visit on Thursday by YouTuber and activist for the homeless Regan Benson, along with YouTuber Louis Real Constitutional Upholders Johnson, as the pair came to the facility to file a complaint about a police officer, but saw the stream devolve into chalk drawings, extreme sexual simulations, and Benson's insulting and degrading of Englewood judges and police officers. Benson explained that she and Johnson were commiserating Johnson's recent conviction of harassment of a police officer in Arapahoe County Court on Wednesday. Johnson was accused of essentially following and harassing an on-duty police officer, resulting in, essentially, a reverse police chase, with Johnson pursuing the police vehicle for 16 miles in the course of Johnson's investigation. He was found guilty of the crime on Wednesday after a jury deliberated for 2.5 hours. Judge Christina Apostoli then stayed his conviction, as Johnson's attorney said that they were immediately going to appeal the decision. Benson attacked Judge Apostoli as a Botox bitch who was having inappropriate sexual relations with police officers. Instead of directly stating this, Benson essentially simulated the so-called cowgirl position and grotesquely gyrated for her audience. She would later repeat the performance as she assured her audience that the judge was apparently prostituting for the police. Benson and Johnson were in Englewood to file a complaint about a police officer who apparently approached Benson after testifying in the Johnson case. According to Benson, the officer attempted to embrace her inappropriately and told her how much he appreciated her. The YouTuber said that his actions should be classified as inappropriate touching and harassment and needed to be reported. She then brought up Denver District 3 Sergeant Brian O'Neill, who apparently served Benson with a civil protection order. Benson had written extensively on the matter in a YouTube community post the day before. She wrote, "Y'all remember this psychotic mess of a Denver cop, right? Come on now, think real hard. I just posted his IA rap sheet about a month ago and a blurb about how the famous girl cop, Megan Dodge, keeps making sure he gets a free pass. You know, he arrested me twice in a 2-week period and then got his face used as a mop at trial. He tried to set me up with a contraband to take into the jail on one of the arrests. He targets the homeless with severe bias and violates their civil rights and keeps getting free passes to do it over and over again. You remember, he's trying to become a lieutenant at the DPD, and there are only 8 people dumber and less qualified than him vying for the same honor. Yeah, this is Brian Boy O'Neill. You know, hashtag Brian O'Neill, hashtag Dirty White Boy Cop, Commander of District 3. He tells his boss, the other maroon they call Commander, Joel Bell, how things are gonna shake out, and his boss immediately starts doing jumpin' jacks for his jumpin' junk buddy. Well, guess what Wonder Bread Doughboy did this time? He had me served with a civil protection order, using all my information he had access to as a Denver cop. Yeah, he was the one. Some goofball judge who thinks she's a social worker by the name of Marguerite Conboy signed it, violating my rights with a temporary protection order, and endorsed a straight-up, ballless, lying POS cop. He put his minor children on the protection order with their names and DOBs, claiming he feared for all their lives. Boy, that's sure something Father of the Year does, eh? He put someone else on the protection order as well, and then used whiteout over it to remove them. Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Conboy apologized today as she called Brian O'Neill's name last on the docket for him to show cause as to why this needed to become a lifetime protection order. She was sorry she kept me waiting all day and was dismissing the PO. You stupid bitch. You're lucky, very lucky my attorney gave you one opportunity to save yourself from becoming the mop she'd use to disinfect your courtroom and then feed it to the brain boy you thought you'd entertain. Turns out Brain Boy was a no-show for court today. I guess he figured out he was going to have to prove the lies he blatantly wrote and swore an oath to for truth. He probably wasn't going to have too much fun with all 5 feet of himself trying to stare down my husband today. Oopsie, Bran made a poopsie. This idiot has free rein to do anything he wants to me and anyone else he chooses, repeatedly. Chief Ron Thomas and friends love it. They get to watch the hashtag Dirty White Boy be the fall guy for trying to destroy my life, while they remain the heroes and cheer it on from the comfort of their locked away from the public offices. Cops are a drain on a civilized society. Prove me wrong. Benson would eventually file her complaint before she and Johnson left the building, and Benson to spend the next hour writing anti-police chalk messages in the courtyard outside the building. In probably one of the most bizarre attempts to troll on a live stream, YouTuber Christopher Denver Metro Audits Cordova claimed on Thursday that he accepted responsibility for all of his actions, accused all of his detractors of being mentally ill, then said that everything he's ever done to upset anyone in his life was essentially the fault of another person who started it. Cordova's 1-hour Thursday live stream was clearly an attempt to have some fun with his trolls, who he claimed were all narcissistic sadists who demonstrated unhealthy maladaptive behavior and needed professional help. He urged all of the people who followed his 6 existing YouTube channels just to harass him and get banned from the pages to seek a psychologist's help, as they were demonstrating the negative behavior and were possibly a danger to themselves and others. Cordova brought up his concerns in the wake of right-wing personality Charlie Kirk's murder, that his own life may be in jeopardy as his haters tracked his movements and could come after him. The YouTuber also defended Kirk against claims that Kirk was a racist, saying that while he disagreed with many of Kirk's ideas, Kirk could not be racist, as Cordova had personally seen Kirk belittle those with racist attitudes out of his events. Cordova reminded his trolls that the First Amendment did not apply to his comment section, and that he would continue to delete comments and ban the trolls when they posted negative comments about him. He also claimed that he had thick skin and was not out to silence criticism. Expounding further, besides mental health, Cordova urged his trolls to look inside themselves and, like he has done, take responsibility for their own actions. He then said that if the trolls wanted him to go out and get a job and take part in society outside of auditing, they would fail, as their negativity only encouraged him to go further. He then described all of his negative actions as reactions to negative actions towards him. Cordova, for example, said his insults towards Jonathan Frauditor Troll Who Know's wife on a recent livestream were Who Know's fault, as Who Know had previously insulted the appearance of his former romantic partner Teresa Sweet Tea Neal. Cordova also said his auditing activities were reflective of bad behavior of the government, and implied that he couldn't be held responsibility for any negativity, as he was just reacting to the government's actions. He claimed government corruption was everywhere, and brought up the attacks on September 11th, 2001, and the Epstein files as examples of what he saw as corruption. The YouTuber also said he could not be a narcissist or demonstrate narcissistic behavior because he openly questioned if he was a narcissist. According to Cordova's research, a narcissist never wonders about his or her behavior. Therefore, if you wonder if you're a narcissist, you clearly aren't one. Pausing to honestly address his audience, Cordova said he was concerned about the trolls, as he feared they would openly celebrate his death. He promised that if anything bad happened to any of the people he disliked, he would never experience pleasure from it, nor would he openly celebrate it on his live stream. Bringing up Jose "Chile" DeCastro, Cordova said that while he had his issues with DeCastro, he would never do anything to make fun of DeCastro should DeCastro go back to jail or experience hardship. He added who done who know to the mix, again claiming that he would never find joy in hardships experienced by the YouTuber. Cordova ended his live stream by again urging his trolls to seek professional mental help and reminding them that his actions were just a reflection of their bad actions, and he would continue to hold them accountable in the future. Following a recent televised appearance on Chicago's WGN news station, YouTuber Audit Them, the auditor who encourages you to audit them, live streamed on his main channel on Friday to clear up some misconceptions about what was presented on the newscast. The newscast mentioned that Audit Them was recently forcibly evicted from a home that he was squatting in. The report said that the home was purchased by a new owner who needed the help of police to remove Audit Them from the home, as it was supposed to be unoccupied. Audit Them, on his disjointed and often confusing account of his saga, explained on the live stream that the home was originally purchased by his family. He said that he had proof that the mortgage was paid off and that the bank should not have a claim to the house. He then contradicted himself, saying that after his father's death, the bank tried to take the house away after his family defaulted on mortgage payments. Eventually, that bank claimed ownership of the home and apparently resold it. According to Audit Them, he had retaken the house, changed the locks, and installed security cameras sometime in the past. 2 years ago, he was greeted by a real estate agent and several police officers who said that the residence should be unoccupied as the real estate agent had a deed to the property. On that day, the police refused to evict Audit Them from the home as, according to the police sergeant on scene, it was not a police matter. However, the next day, the real estate agent returned, and a new police sergeant claimed that Audit Them's deed to the house was falsified, as it had evidence that someone had used whiteout on it, and it was missing 4 digits from a valid PIN number. Audit Them then sued the police sergeant for defamation, with the case lingering in the state court for most of the past 2 years. He also implied that the new buyer of his home as a foreigner who was buying up properties in the area, and that the story he told of buying Audit Them's former home to house his family was a lie. The YouTuber assured his audience that the Satanist murderers on the police force were out to get them, and that if they could evict him from his home, then they could come for anyone. He then continued his story after pausing to disparage the Zionists and called Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal. Audit Them said that there were issues with the deed that the real estate agent had with them, and that his deed was somehow superior to their deed. He said that the multiple court rulings against him were invalid, as all of the judges and the police were part of a larger conspiracy between the government and the real estate agent. Explaining that the WGN news story featured events that happened some time ago, he confirmed that police did evict him forcibly from the property. He also said that police were in violation of their policy, as they were not allowed to remove him with violence. He promised that he would be releasing an extended documentary in the near future to fully explain his saga. The YouTuber also promised that he would be giving out his Audit Shield product for free to auditors in Illinois. He endorsed First Amendment auditor Tyrant Terminator and said that he would be working with the man to make him the perfect auditor. Audit Them admitted that he only sold a handful of the Audit Shield product over the last year, but promised continued work on the product as he invested the money he made from those sales back into his efforts. He also promised that he would be returning to full-time First Amendment auditing in the coming weeks. Sean Paul Long Island Audit Reyes returned to the Melbourne's Florida City Hall on Friday in a live stream that was entitled, "Returning to the Scene of the Crime You Can't Hide Mayor," which seemed to promise a confrontation with Mayor Paul Alfrey, but resulted in anything but. Reyes opened the live stream explaining that he was in Melbourne on behalf of Mayor Alfrey's brother's widow and his niece, who the mayor allegedly locked out of the roofing company that he and his brother apparently owned together. The rotund YouTuber continued his narrative that Mayor Alfrey stole funds from his deceased brother by using a company credit card after his brother's death. Reyes expounded on his accusations against the mayor without providing proof that the mayor's alleged mistress was physically abusive towards both the widow and the niece of the mayor. Reyes accused Alfrey of hiding behind Charlie Kirk, as the mayor's motion to rename a city street after Charlie Kirk, the true purpose of Wednesday's city council meeting. In this new version of Reyes's accusations, the YouTuber implied the mayor somehow scheduled the subject of the street renaming, as he knew that Reyes was coming, to expose him, and used the lively debate to ignore the charges. Promising new lawsuits, Reyes said that the mayor had multiple mistresses that he took to different meetings. According to Reyes's unfounded accusations, the mayor had a mistress he took to Democratic events, a different one for Republican events, and a third for Latino events. The third mistress was again identified by Reyes as a woman sitting in the front row of the city council meeting, who later screamed at him outside of the meeting after his ejection. According to Reyes, he heard that the Melbourne Police Department can't stand the mayor and were on the verge of revolting against him. Reyes encouraged officers to stand up to the corrupt mayor and reminded his viewers that the mayor's contact information was in the description of his video. Reyes's Friday visit was apparently part of a shock and awe campaign against the city, where he would walk into the facility and confront members of the local government with the supposed crimes he has already personally convicted the mayor of doing. Instead, he was politely greeted by everyone in the building, saw little to no pushback for his FOIA requests, and was even politely greeted by the city attorney, who explained that sharing of time at city meetings, contrary to claims by Reyes, was not permitted under city council rules. The city attorney also explained that all of Reyes's public accusations against the mayor at Wednesday's meeting were turned over to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. The reason for Reyes's campaign of shock and awe fizzling may have been because Zachary Liberty Troll Cooker, a Florida-based First Amendment auditor, had previously visited the building on Thursday. Thursday saw Cooker interact with many of the same people Reyes did on Friday. He told his tales of the terror of the mayor and may have inadvertently prepared workers for Reyes's Friday visit. Cooker even went beyond the scope of Reyes's reporting, as he went to the Melbourne Police Department and filed a complaint about police ejecting Reyes from the City Council meeting. Likewise, Cooker's Support the Fight for Our Constitutional Rights Fund dominated all of Reyes's GoFundMe campaigns on Saturday, bringing in $25 to take the crowd-sourcing title. No other campaigns, including Reyes's 8 current campaigns, saw donations for the day. While Reyes's Shock and Awe campaign, held on a Friday near closing time at the City Hall, was largely unsuccessful, he teased that he may be live streaming again on Saturday from the area. We need your help. Both ReallyCoolSite.org's daily newspaper and our daily newscasts are funded by your continuing donations and what we make from our YouTube AdSense revenue each month. If you'd like to contribute to help us keep the lights on, eating, feeding the cats, defending ourselves from lawsuit threats, and writing news stories to feature on both the newspaper and newscast each day, you can do so via a donation to our PayPal, Cash App, or GoFundMe accounts. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch our videos from beginning to end, like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in.